Hello everyone, Underdog Chris here, back to bring you all another video, this time on why Tsunade Senju is my favorite Hokage in Naruto. I know that a lot of people usually have the other Hokages as their favorites, but I personally feel like the story of Tsunade's was one that spoke to me the most. Her tenure as Hokage was actually one of quite a lot of turmoil, but despite all that, I believe that she rose to the challenge and did the best that she could. Though there's a lot more to her character than just her time as Hokage, so before we can delve into all of that, I would like for us to just take a step back and take a look into her past. Tsunade Senju is the granddaughter of the first Hokage Hashirama Senju, and the grandniece of the second Hokage Tobirama Senju. She was also trained by the third Hokage Hiruzen Sarutobi, alongside her teammates Jiraiya and Orochimaru. So with her being the sort of legacy of the first three Hokages, Tsunade seemed to have a lot of expectations to live up to. She had inherited her grandfather's necklace before he had died, and Tsunade had thought of it as a good luck charm, though as the years went on, Tsunade would see that her life was slowly but surely falling apart. One day, her 12-year-old little brother Nawaki, who she had given the precious necklace to, ended up dying during a mission due to a careless mistake. He had ran straight through an enemy's trap and was caught in an explosion so bad that his body was left unrecognizable. And this was just one of the tragedies that Tsunade had to face and eventually overcome in her life. After that incident, Tsunade and her two teammates Jiraiya and Orochimaru were then caught in the crossfire that was the Second Great Ninja War. They had fought against Hanzo the Salamander from the Hidden Rain Village. The battle between Hanzo and Tsunade's team had ended in a stalemate, which caused Hanzo to officially dub them the legendary Sannin in honor of their survival. Though, that's not all that went on during this war. Tsunade had actually began to advocate for the requirement that all ninja teams must have a medical shinobi, so that no ninja could die in the same manner that Nawaki did, and so their chances of survival could be a lot higher as well. Tsunade had tried bringing this to the third Hokage's attention, but he unfortunately was too preoccupied with the ongoing war at the time to really provide any aid to her cause. But during her advocacy, Tsunade had ended up meeting a man named Dan Kato, who had agreed with Tsunade's proposals and shared his dream of becoming Hokage to protect those that he cared about. As they got closer to each other, Tsunade had actually given him Hashirama's old necklace. But one of Tsunade's biggest accomplishments is that throughout the Second Ninja War, she had been actively countering all of Granny Chiyo's poisons with her own antidotes. Granny Chiyo was a renowned shinobi from the Sand Village who mainly specialized in puppetry and poisons, so Tsunade having an answer to everything Granny Chiyo tried to throw at her is an amazing feat. Tsunade's advocacy for medics on the battlefield and her constantly interfering with Chiyo's poisons were so influential that it was stated by other characters such as Jiraiya that Tsunade's contributions gave Konoha the win in this war, though while the village won the war, Tsunade had lost something far greater, which was her lover Dan, who had died during the war, and despite Tsunade's best efforts, she was not able to heal him. It was then that she began to feel that the necklace and the title of Hokage were more of a curse, and that being a Hokage was a fool's game. She had come out of the war a bitter and resentful woman, and had developed hemophobia, which is a fear of blood, as a result of losing Dan. After everything was said and done with the war, Tsunade had taken Dan's niece Shizune as an apprentice and left the village. Since then, Tsunade had given up on being a medic and a shinobi and would often have Shizune do any healing if they were ever approached for help. In their travels, Tsunade had become a bitter and scorned woman who was addicted to gambling and drinking alcohol, and on top of all that, she had bad luck wherever she went, as she would often get into huge gambling debts. With all of this, she was known as the legendary sucker, as gambling halls would often profit off of Tsunade's bad luck. She had eventually met up with Orochimaru, who had offered her the chance to see her dead lover and brother again by reviving them through Edo Tensei. Though, despite having such a tempting offer at her fingertips, Tsunade still had the willpower and the determination to reject Orochimaru's offer. But, during that same week, she had also met up with Naruto and Jiraiya, with the latter of them begging her to come back to Konoha and become Hokage. She refused it at first, by calling the role of Hokage a fool's errand, and was very pessimistic in her worldview, But in meeting Naruto and fighting alongside him and Jiraiya against Orochimaru and Kabuto, she had found her will of fire once again and had agreed to return to the village and take up the mantle of Hokage. And one thing I want to briefly touch upon is that Tsunade seemed to be one of the only adults in Konoha, besides Iruka, Kakashi, and Jiraiya, who actually genuinely cared for Naruto and didn't resent him or see him as a weapon like much of the other adults in the village did. I mean, let's be honest, even taking the filler out of the equation, when it comes to Naruto's childhood, Hiruzen really didn't do much in the grand scheme of things to stop any of the hatred that the kid was facing, though that could also just be chalked up to Tsunade being a more nurturing person in general. But one of my favorite scenes from Tsunade was her standing up for Naruto during the Pain Assault, when all the elders wanted to do was just keep him locked up and away from the action. And they were also people who just saw Naruto as nothing more than a weapon to be used at the village's disposal, when Tsunade made it very clear that Naruto was not just some tool at all. She recognized him as a proud shinobi of the Hidden Leaf, who would always be willing to fight for those that he cares about, and she had straight up told the elders that they lacked any backbone to believe, when Granny Chiyo, Hiruzen, and Jiraiya had a lot of faith in the next generation, which honestly it's impressive because it just goes to show you how awful the elders are. If Tsunade had better things to say about one of her former mortal enemies in Granny Chiyo than her own village elders, though I'll have more to say on them later. But to change gears for a bit, I don't think it's talked about enough with how once Tsunade had arrived at the village, that she had inherited a huge mess that she was now responsible for cleaning up. She had taken up the Hokage position with some of the worst circumstances imaginable. Hiruzen, the third Hokage, and her mentor had just died to someone who was a close friend and a teammate in the past in Orochimaru. The village was in turmoil and was still recovering from the attack that both the Hidden Sound and the Hidden Sand villages were responsible for, which could have left Konoha vulnerable for yet another attack. But despite that, she got to work and had begun to help the village heal, both physically and mentally, causing there to be hope within Konoha's walls once again and boosting morale. Tsunade repeatedly kept sending Konoha shinobi on missions so as to show the other nations that Konoha was still going and that the attack on them was not enough to make them falter, though it wouldn't be long before trouble would start brewing once again, as Sasuke had left Konoha with the Sound Fort in a quest to obtain power from Orochimaru, and with this, Tsunade had taken the ultimate gamble and sent out Shikamaru alongside a team of the male Konoha Genin to go after Sasuke, as Konoha cannot afford to lose the Sharingan and potentially have Sasuke in the evil clutches of Orochimaru. Though, despite there being reinforcements from Rock Lee and the Sand siblings, the Sasuke retrieval mission had ultimately ended in failure. But even so, Tsunade's medical prowess had made it so that there were no casualties on their side, as she healed Neji and Choji despite them being on the brink of death. And this mission had all of them grow as characters and shinobi, and became known worldwide as the arc where boys became men. This was also around the time where she decided to forgive the Hidden Sand for their attack on Konoha, since they were just being deceived by Orochimaru. And with this, she gave Konoha a huge ally in the Hidden Sand, which would be a huge asset for both villages later on, as they could both be seen helping each other from time to time, such as the Kazekage rescue mission, where the Hidden Leaf works together with the Hidden Sand to save Gaara from the clutches of the Akatsuki when no other villages came to their aid. Though there was not only that, but there were also some internal political battles that Tsunade had to overcome within the Hidden Leaf village as well, such as constantly being at odds with the two elder advisors Koharu Utatane and Homura Mitokado, who I mentioned earlier. In my opinion, they were two of the biggest thorns in Tsunade's side, because it seemed like no matter what she did, they always seemed to undermine her, disrespect her, or outright throw her under the bus, especially when one of the elders literally blamed Tsunade for Pain attacking the village and destroying it, when in all honesty, it was due to the Second Great Ninja War that Hiruzen started and Danzo's meddling with the Hidden Rain orphans in the first place that Pain came into existence. And if anything, Tsunade was the best woman for the job when it came to dealing with pain, because once he started attacking the village, she immediately sprung into action and had summoned Lady Katsuyu to heal as many people as possible and exponentially reduce the casualties that could have arisen had she not been in the village. If anything, had it not been for Tsunade's quick thinking, the elders would have been sent packing to the Pure Lands by pain. So if anything, they should be counting their lucky stars and should be grateful to Tsunade that they are still alive and kicking to this very day in the Boruto era. Danzo Shimura, who I briefly mentioned earlier, was also someone that Tsunade had to keep a close eye on. Unlike Hiruzen and the elders who would basically let the man run amok and do whatever he wanted, it seemed like Tsunade was the only one to keep him in check and make sure he didn't try to go overboard with any of his schemes, which I really respect, and it goes to show that she has a lot of backbone compared to the other three that I just listed earlier, and showed that she was not afraid of Danzo, nor did she have any soft spots towards him whatsoever. Danzo would also be constantly trying to undermine her in hopes of swooping in and taking control of any given situation, but each time he tried something, Tsunade would come up with a countermeasure to foil his plans, such as Danzo trying to recruit Sai to work with Team 7 for the benefit of the Root, Danzo's shady organization. However, Tsunade decided to also recruit Captain Yamato to Team 7 as a way of keeping Naruto's Nine Tails power in check, but to also keep an eye on Sai as well. But also, one misconception that I want to clear up is people thinking that Tsunade purposely sent Jiraiya on a death mission against Pain. For some reason, people seem to hold her responsible for that when it's not her fault. And in all honesty, a lot of that rubbish comes from people glossing over the fine details and the context of this scene. So here's how it really went down. She had met up with Jiraiya for drinks one day and he brought it up. He revealed to her that he found the location of the Akatsuki leader Pain in the Hidden Rain village. People, for the sake of making memes and bad-mouthing Tsunade, completely missed the fact that Jiraiya was dead set on going to this mission himself no matter what, and Tsunade was even against sending him there herself. She didn't even want him going alone, but he did so anyway. So at the end of the day, Jiraiya walked himself to his own grave. Tsunade, of course, was struck with grief when this happened, but despite that, she remained strong and defended the village as much as she could once Pain had invaded, and eventually got into a coma due to the amount of chakra that had been depleted from her system from healing all of the villagers. Before the start of the Fourth Great Ninja War, Tsunade seemed to advocate for Naruto once again during a meeting with the other four Kage, and she seemed to be the only one wanting him to participate in the war as he was a huge asset. She lost a vote in that regard, though despite this, Tsunade herself had Killer Bee tasked with training Naruto in how to control the Nine Tails, which shows that she still had his best interest at heart. And that is shown again when she and the Raikage, A, confront Naruto and B, once their training on Turtle Island was done. She was initially on the Raikage's side, however, she once again placed her faith in Naruto when A decided to take things too far and try to kill Naruto himself so the Akatsuki would not get a hold of him. Though, despite A not being convinced of Naruto's newfound power, Tsunade was willing to fight against the Raikage to make sure that Naruto was able to participate in the war. Tsunade had also shown some impressive feats against Madara Uchiha once he was revived. She landed some good hits against him and even managed to break his Susanoo ribcage, which shows that while she may not be the strongest, she's still able to get some work done. And she was able to survive being cut in half while still trying to heal the other Kage with Lady Katsuyu, which shows how resourceful she can be in times of a crisis. She had also trained up Sakura, who didn't belong to a special clan nor have a KK Genkai to her name, into the best medic in the Hidden Leaf village in the modern era. And with this training, it was shown that Sakura had surpassed Tsunade as far back as the Fourth Great Ninja War, but that just shows how much of a great teacher that Tsunade really was. Though the Fourth Ninja War, much like the Second Ninja War, had also scarred Tsunade in a way. According to the Kakashi Hidden Light novel, Tsunade had a lot of inner demons to face, as Naruto had told Kakashi that Tsunade had gone back to her old ways of getting drunk and acting up in gambling halls. And as a result, she had not been giving it her all when it came to her work as a Hokage, and had gotten very sloppy, which shows that almost dying to Madara really had an impact on her, and she seemed to be on her way out the door with the Hokage job, as she was very insistent on Kakashi taking up the mantle. Despite Tsunade at times not being in the best mental state in this novel, she had given Kakashi the guidance he needed to ultimately take up the mantle of Hokage, officially passing the torch on to him as her era came to an end. And with all that being said, that's it for today's video. I really enjoyed making this one, as I find that Tsunade is such a slept-on character. I don't feel like she gets the respect and love that she deserves, so this video was me speaking from the heart for a character that I feel very passionate about. I want to thank you all for watching until the end, and I hope you all have an amazing day.